Hello, hello. Yes, it's me, Maddie X. Lee. Welcome back to another episode of Just Being Me podcast. That is a temporary title as of right now, but that is the podcast. And welcome. Okay, so this is episode 2, and I'm really doing this thing. I'm really doing the whole podcast thing, which is super weird. But I'm excited. I'm pumped that I got really good feedback on my first episode. So if you are coming back with episode 2, welcome. If you're new here, welcome. I don't know if this is morning, evening, dinner time, nighttime for you. It's currently 5:40 p.m. and I'm recording because it's a random Wednesday night on break. And I don't know. I'm bored and I would like to just record an episode for you guys. So today I'm going to be talking about travel. Now, I could talk hours and hours about traveling. And this past year in 2021, I traveled a lot. And traveling, yes, I'm going to be one of those girls who are like, traveling changes my life. But if I'm being honest, traveling does change my life a little bit. I don't know. Traveling is so fun, especially when you're doing it by yourself. It's one thing when you're like traveling with a family, but like traveling by yourself, amazing. And I know people that have traveled by themselves can probably say the same thing because it's so much different. Like, traveling with your family, you need like a vacation from your vacation after that. Does that make sense? Like, you just spend a solid 6 days stuck in the house with your family that you normally don't like spend that much time with. I don't know. That's how it is for me because everyone's so busy around at my house and not everyone lives in one house anymore. So like when we spend a vacation together, it's so fun. But then sometimes it just gets so chaotic that you need a vacation from your vacation. But traveling by yourself, a whole different story. You don't want to leave. So I'm going to change up the topic a little bit. Not change it up, but I'm going to talk about my travel experience this past year because traveling is amazing. And I recommend you guys this is your sign. Go randomly book a trip anywhere. Because when you book spontaneous trips, the trip is 10 times better. I booked 2 spontaneous trips in 2021. I went to New York to go see my best friend Natalie that I have not seen besides that trip in like 2 years because of COVID. And I've also only met her twice, which is really weird that you could be best friends with someone. But that's a whole different episode I will talk about is internet friends and social media. But we're talking about traveling, and I went to go travel all the way to New York. And not just like New York, Southampton. I went to the Hamptons and holy cow, it's crazy there. It's so beautiful and it's so crazy. And I don't know, it was like a beautiful little like island. And I definitely want to go back in the summer because her and her parents were telling me that it's so pretty in the summer. And you can actually do a lot more. But we went to New York. Well, I went to New York, traveled, and the feeling of getting on that plane by yourself, amazing. You feel like an independent woman. Like, I'm literally walking in the airport, feeling like a bad bitch, and I have all my stuff, and then I get on the plane by myself. So nice. It's like so nice being by yourself. And then I did have a layover, which sucked. I had a layover for 4 hours. But listen, you have to make the best of it because that's part of the traveling experience. Like, people are like, ugh, a layover, which they do suck, but like, it was a 4-hour layover and it went so fast that it felt like an hour. Well, at least on the way there it did. On the way back, it was really bad because I was so sad that I was leaving my best friend. And it also was like a random Sunday at like 6 p.m. So it wasn't the best, but you do have to stay positive about it because you're traveling and obviously the vacation is going to end at some point, but live in your vacation. It's so fun. It literally changes you as like a person. Now, New York was so fun. We went to New York City and I definitely have future plans to go to New York City. Hopefully sometime. I want to go to New York City so bad. I was telling my sister about it. I was like, hey, I want to plan a spontaneous weekend trip to New York City. She's been to New York City a couple times, and I only went once. And it's going to be so different because, I don't know, my sister could show me around a little bit, and it would just be so fun. So I do want to go to New York City. But that's one of the big traveling trips I went on in 2021. And the last trip I went on spontaneously, well, I went to Colorado a couple times, but those weren't by myself. That was because of hip surgery, which is not going to bring down my podcast mood. No. Anyways, let's change the subject a little bit. So basically, I went to California actually pretty recently, and I know you guys probably know that. If you have been keeping up with my YouTube videos and not just my podcasts, I went to California to see another one of my internet best friends that I literally met at VidCon in 2019 and have not seen her since. And it was so surreal. Listen, so I got to California. I stayed there for 5-6 days, and I stayed with her family. I stayed at her house. First of all, her family is so nice. Love them all. They're so funny, so cool. Shout out to Mia if she's watching this. Hey, Mia. And shout out to her sister, Ava, and her mom. Love them. And her dad. And her many, 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 many animals. She has a lot of animals. Anyways, sorry, that was a pause. I had to figure out how I was going to word how many pets she has. But I'm so jealous because I love all her pets. But basically, I went to California, and it was amazing. And I got all the different experiences there. Oh my gosh. I think Mia and I could both talk about this together of how weird, but amazing this trip was. And the fact that it wasn't a trip from her house, but Mia's a very busy girl. So we both we're both pretty busy. And so we had 5 days just to hang out with each other. And we literally I don't know, when we met each other at VidCon, we were weird. Not weird, but we were crazy fangirl girls. I don't know, everyone's really different. I will have to talk about YouTube conventions because they're totally different than meeting the person just one-on-one. But we were both really different and acted different at VidCon. So when we met again after 3 years later, we were so different, but we are the same person. I literally love that girl so much. She's literally my best friend, and it's weird to think that you can have a best friend through the internet, but she is. And that trip literally changed my life. I will say this now. I do want to move to Huntington Beach one day in my life. It was beautiful there. She showed me around, and I'm just in love with it. I don't know, the way we had so many deep talks, and I'm not going to share the deep talks, on the internet, but we had so many talks just talking about honestly life and to live in the moment and to chase your dreams, which sounds so cheesy, but we had so many deep life talks, thinking about what we want to do, and just I don't know, that she is just the go-to person to talk to, and we just talk to each other so much about that type of stuff. And it's honestly so true. You can't, what was it? I'll have to text her, but we said something that was a word. What was it? It was a saying. It wasn't pursuing your dreams, which it is pursuing your dreams, but life is precious. That is what it is. And so life is so precious. And she said that, and it's so true. It puts everything in a, what is the word? Perception? No, it puts it kind of into character, I would say, that life is precious. So why focus on the negative parts and the bad moments of your life? Life is so precious, and you gotta live. You have to live with it. And traveling, let me tell you, traveling literally changed my life. And yes, I'm one of those travel girls, and I don't care because it's so different. people that like travel will understand how much it changes your life. But like, you're going to all these different places, and it's like so crazy. Like, I went in 2020, I went to the Bahamas on a cruise. So life-changing. And like, it's weird to think that was life-changing, but going to all these like tropical different islands, places, like even going to Colorado, it's so fun seeing how people live day to day. Because it's so weird, because you go, like, people will come to Michigan, that's where I live, by the way, and be like, oh my gosh, it's so cool here. Me, I'm like, ew, it sucks here. But I go to California and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to live here. I love it here. And people are like, really? Yes. It's so weird how like you go to a state and you're like, oh my God, I want to live here. And then the other person's like, ew, why would you want to live here? But that's how life is, and that's how it is. So it's just so weird to think about like people's perception. I don't even know if that's the correct term. That's so embarrassing. I'm really bad at like grammar. All my friends know I'm really bad at grammar and like talking and texting and writing and everything. So, it gets a little difficult sometimes. So if some of the stuff I say doesn't make sense, I'm not surprised. But that's okay. Like, it happens. Yeah. Anyways, we're going to turn up the topic a little bit. We're going to change it up and reroute. So let's talk about dream travel spots. Now, I wish I could like talk to you guys and ask you guys this, but obviously I'm just in my room with the candle lit, listening to myself talk to a microphone. But dream travel spots. A number one dream travel spot of mine is Hawaii. I want to go to Hawaii so much. That did not make sense. So bad. My friend Mia actually just went to Hawaii, and she talked about how life-changing it is, and everything's life-changing. That's the word of the day. That's the word of this episode, is life-changing. But like, honestly, it is life-changing. Like, let's talk about that. But I want to go to Hawaii really bad because, hello, it's Hawaii tropical, and it just looks so beautiful. But another thing I want, my dad just called me for dinner, so this is super awkward, and I'm like in the middle of a podcast episode. So hi, Dad. But basically, it's just, I'm really caught off guard that my dad just called me for dinner because he made chicken and they got an air fryer, and I'm really excited to eat my chicken. So I'm gonna close off the podcast soon. That's so embarrassing. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, that's like my number one place I want to go to. And to reroute, I'm going on a cruise very, very soon. And I'm super excited about it because I'll have to talk about it in my like YouTube videos. My dad keeps calling me, guys. I'm so sorry. This is so embarrassing. I want to like yell, but I can't. Anyways, so I'm going on a cruise with my family and next year, and I'm so excited because we're going to the Bahamas and another amazing trip. So hold on. Oh my gosh, I might have to edit this out. This is so embarrassing, guys. Like, the podcast just took a turn. I was going to title this traveling, but it's now like my dad called me because dinner's ready or something. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to like get really deep into traveling and I get my name called. That's what it's like living at home. And every time I talk, I'm like, wow, that's a great episode I could talk about living at home at age 20. Yep. Anyways, now that I just screamed at my dad and he just ruined my whole entire podcast episode that I've been recording for 15 minutes, I might have to conclude this. This is what it's like living at home. I cannot wait to move out, and that's a whole nother episode to talk about. But listen, it sucks living at home, but it's okay. Again, I'm traveling because it helps me figure out where I want to live in the future. If you guys don't know, I really want to live in California one time in my life. And I have a couple places that I want to live, but California is definitely one of them. I really want to go into film, and going on these trips to California makes me just like, oh, like I want to live there. I want to live there so bad. Like, so many different experiences. I feel like it would be good for me physically and mentally, because I'm so drained living in the same state, and I feel like getting out for like a year or two would be so good for me. And so that's what we're going to end off on this podcast. This is Just Being Me podcast, episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye. Ew, that was like getting off of the phone. All right, Maddie's out.